Okay, there we go. I'm recording. Um, join the LinkedIn community. So we talked a little bit about how you show up on your LinkedIn profile. And I think a lot of us, and I say us because this was me last year, you go to LinkedIn for a place to connect with people and your peers, and I think LinkedIn is still a good place for that, but I think a private community is better for that. And so I've actually I'm a part of two amazing communities. One is the Labor Club. So it was a group of 300 women in tech. And I think we actually have a couple women on the phone here from the Labor Club. But a woman who was laid off from Google started it, and that gave me amazing just support during a really, really difficult time. And so I had curated channels and things like that. And then I'm also a part of another awesome community. It's 2,500 women only. It's called the Old Girls Club, and it's essentially 2,500 people are a part of it. And so what's cool is we all pay $10 a month, and then they curate it. And it's really, really awesome. And so I'm learning a lot on how those communities are built to be able to build a community around this for people who are laid off, because I want to be able to provide that community for other people, and I want to be able to make it free. Um, because I think it's really hard to know whether it's worth paying or anything like that. The Labor Club is the Labor Club is an application process, and the Old Girls Club is actually referral only. So I do want this to be open, but I want it to be for people who are laid off, um, because it's just a totally different vulnerable place you're coming from. And so join the community here. And I'm working on setting up a Slack channel. So everything I've learned about communities is that people don't really engage when it's just like one general chat. Like it's nice to be able to know which channels to go to. I think we're going to have a channel called Yell in all caps, which should be fun. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about the community. I think it's going to be a great place to kind of unwind after the masterclass too and continue to get stuff. The one thing I do want to do for the community, um, is I'm going to be doing weekly AI upskilling for the community. So every week I'll do an hour, and it'll be a working session where we'll come for the people on the call who want to learn how to use AI more. Now, there's tons of like AI prompts and stuff online, but I at this point consider myself an AI expert, and I think about using AI differently. And I had a client actually, he's a CTO, so like super AI, tech driven, and he's learned a ton about AI from me, which just still surprises me, but I feel like it's important for upskilling in your role, and you can use it for your job search. So that's my gift to all of you is I really do want to be able to help people who are laid off, and I love AI. So we'll be doing weekly sessions. It's going to be Tuesdays at 11 a.m. I've already blocked the time. So if you want to be a part of that, block your calendars and join the community and introduce yourself. I gave a little intro in the community for how to introduce yourself. Okay. Um, cool. That's a little bit about the community. Freebies, $2,000 in prizes this week. That's amazing. So engage live and win my top business book. Attend all days live and get my full list of AI prompts. So I actually have a custom podcast called Beyond the Job Search Grind. And at the end, there's a bonus if you listen to all the sessions that you get all of my AI prompts. And so you might be wondering like why I'm giving away all of this for free. And the thing is the Phoenix formula is so complex and so personalized that like all of this is helpful, and it's also a lot to figure out on your own. So I want to give away as much as I can for all the DIYers out there. And so the AI prompts are pretty great. And so if you attend all days live, you'll get my full list of AI prompts. Um, and do your homework and be selected for a live LinkedIn audit on Friday. And then share on social and tag me and win a $1,500 scholarship to the Phoenix Formula. All right, so these are some of my top business books. We will move on to the next slide. All right, general housekeeping, no distractions. Try to really be engaged. Today is going to be a workshop, so you're going to have to be engaged if you want to get something out of it. Definitely watch the replay if you were not here yesterday. And get your workbook. If you don't have your workbook, Claire could drop it into the chat. Um, and oh, cool. I'm hearing that um, great things in there. I'm getting distracted. Content will be removed by Tuesday, and then invite your network. If you're finding value in this, invite your network. Okay, so day one homework highlights. So action and persistence. So over the homework, and not everyone submitted it, but over 250 applications were submitted this month across the group, probably for March. Um, and referrals are being actively generated. The networking impact, and this is what I think we all would have assumed, but 60 networking conversations held with 25 referrals earned. So that just shows you like the power of networking. Now that seems a little high to me, but it's awesome. So, and I think like a cold network and a warm network is pretty different, right? If you're like talking to someone you knew and that you worked with, that's going to refer you. That's pretty different than like a rando that works at Amazon in the department you want to work at. So, um, the metric highlights is the black hole ratios vary, but the network effectiveness is showing the strongest breakthroughs. So that's what one big takeaway is like networking is going to be the key here. And I think if anything from yesterday, a takeaway should be how important your LinkedIn profile is because your networking is also going to check out your LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your first interview. It's your first, like, is this person okay from a networking perspective? It's everything right now, I think. I mean, you need a resume too, but key insights is job search is both a numbers and an energy game. So Alonzo talked about this a bit, but the one thing I wanted to also have you all think about is like if you're doing things that aren't producing value, is it draining you? And what is the cost of feeling drained in your job search? It's been amazing to hear from all of you how you've been excited about this class. And I think like the fact that I can make someone excited about a job search is like kind of amazing because it sucks so bad. It is so hard. And so just think about that. Think about like the moment of feeling alive, like you have a lot to offer and being excited. If you could go through that with your job search and how to take away the things that are draining you, because a lot more good is going to happen when you're coming from a good place. And then I think that's good for the homework overview. All right. And the favorite business book winner is Rob Atkins. Rob, do you have this book already? I can't hear him.
I do not.
Okay, okay.
So
Just
I was excited for sure.
it's it's a textbook. It is so I don't know if I told you all, but I was in the office of the CEO at VMware and we had a leadership class for all the senior directors within the company, like the top 40 senior directors representing every department within the company. And essentially we felt like people really hadn't gone back to figure out how to lead a SaaS company now. And like there's not an MBA on that either. And so it was essentially like a mini MBA with like business books, and this was one of them. And I think it is incredible. So yesterday, what we talked a lot about with Alonzo was understanding companies' problems. And that's what your networking should be doing. Your data gathering for understanding a company's problems. But what this book does is it helps collate all the problems into a book. Every company is struggling with these things. And this book gives you like an inside scoop. I swear, once I read this book, I was like, I felt alive in interviews because I felt like I actually had something to offer and context about problems that I know they're experiencing that I didn't have before. And so, if even though you didn't win, not everyone won, just Rob, buy this book. It's incredible. It will give you a lot of really good interviewing knowledge. All right. Um, I gotta move on. I don't know if we have many new people. Put it in the chat if you're new today. Anyone new? Anybody new? We've got one new person, Tiffany. Hi. Okay, I'll give you a brief overview. I don't want to bore anyone. I wanted to update my pictures, didn't get a chance to do that, but you can see I have a family. I will say at one point in my job search, when I started to get really confident, I actually started sharing that I had a family, which is amazing because it's like, okay, well, I have a family and like there's going to be sick days and like things are going to happen and they might discriminate against me, but I have a family. Two, I've 2x my salary multiple times. I have built myself literally from the ground up. And so I got hired through LinkedIn Easy Apply. I understand how to frame myself and help you frame yourself. I was laid off at 34 weeks pregnant last year. It rocked my world. The light bulb moment for me was when I asked myself, what could I do if I, what would I, what could I do if I, what would I do? I should say, what would I do if I couldn't fail? And so for me, that was starting my own business. And I had specific ideas around that. And then I created the Phoenix Formula. That was not my first company. I'll tell you about my first company probably later on in the week. And then I built a business while raising three children, three and under. So you can see them. They're getting a little older. My daughter is getting sent home again from daycare today for being sick. Um, okay. All right. How you can work with us. So I just wanted to understand, I wanted you all to know like the different offerings here. So the thing is I want tons of free stuff for you all to help. So I've got a masterclass, I've got a LinkedIn newsletter, I've got a podcast. You all have signed up for the masterclass, which is amazing, and you're going to learn a ton today. So the first place is like start with a community, build a sense of community. I'll have a lot of resources in that community. I actually have like a 12-week foundational series of all of my main handouts and how I think about the job search. And so I'll also upload those to the community so you have them. Um, and then there's the Phoenix Formula Core offer VIP days. We'll talk about that later, but I started to realize working with different clients that like a lot of this masterclass is establishing a gap, right? Like where you want to be, the possibility of getting there, and then where you are right now. And some of you are like, well, I want to get there. I want to get to like the destination right away. And so the VIP days are for those people who just want to like totally dive in, invest. And then AI Mentor, is one of my favorite programs as well. It's to help people AI upskill. And I think this is a great elevate program. Like once you land your role, if you want to understand how to use AI for your role, but you could do it before then too. Okay, so that's a little bit about Phoenix Formula. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's rise from the ashes. So like rebuild yourself, energy matters, reinvent yourself, become the strategic solution companies need, and soar to your potential. So we talked a little bit about how the market has fundamentally changed. Success requires both closing the value gap and bypassing application systems. You have to do both. And then the black hole effect and value exists, but it isn't being properly communicated. A lot of you might have taken the stance that just because you're not getting jobs might mean you need to like down level. And we'll talk about that today, but I don't think that's the case. Unless you're applying to like CEO roles and you've never been a CEO, you haven't been an SVP or anything else. Okay, so top question for the day. Looking back at your career journey, what are you most proud of? So we're doing a career deep dive today. So what are you most proud of? Now, this is a very interesting question. I'm not asking what you achieved. What was the most impressive metric? I'm asking what are you most proud of? And I think it's so important to start from this place. And a lot of you are probably thinking of something that came to mind. And I'd love to hear in the chat, just drop in what you're most proud of. Um, and I'll keep going here, but this will be rolling. And you're going to use this for the rest of the class today. So drop in what you're most proud of. Okay. And the other thing that's really, really helpful to this is that um, this helps you. This is like your guiding star and what you want to communicate. When you look at your LinkedIn profile, is this clear? And I think from today, we're going to be able to really see um, how to add some of those elements in. Okay. So the agenda for today is I'm going to talk about the experience transcript methodology. We're going to do a guided workshop, and then you're going to get to hear from a client who landed her ideal role. Now, I'm not saying dream job, ideal role. And I really don't think there were many trade-offs for her. And how she did it and how the Phoenix formula helped her. And so um, it's going to be amazing. It won't be live streamed or anything. I'm actually going to stop the recording because she's going to give us the real deal of like her experience in the job search and how she transformed. So that's amazing. All right, so experience transcript methodology. And I will put the workbook sign when there's a workbook piece. So this is just for you to know. It's a systematic approach to uncovering your true professional value. It's the foundation for all your career positioning materials. If you've heard anything about AI, and I never used to understand this, if and for those of you that are new, I think we have two people that are new, but I'm fast, so I'm gonna go fast. You might have to rewatch this, but that's just my style. So hang on. But AI is all about data, 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 data. And so if you want to be able to use AI well for your job search, which is going to save you exponential time because you actually need time to be able to read like books that you actually like and like go do something that you want to do. And you have to like almost spend equal amount just uplifting yourself because the job search is so hard that you need AI to work for you. And for AI to work for you, you have to build a data model. And so this experience transcript methodology is going to help you build a data model. So for people in the Phoenix formula, we build the whole data model. And it is one of the most time consuming parts about it all. You'll hear from some clients on this. But why it works is because once you have your data model, it reveals the value you've been overlooking. Now, here's the big thing. I hear a lot of clients say this. I have been underselling myself. I think almost every single client I've had has said this. Now, this is amazing. So if you've been overlooking value, you're then not communicating it, and then people aren't hearing it. So like when I had interviews where I felt unseen, like you just don't get me. Like I'm a rock star. And that just meant it was a communication value gap. Like I kind of thought it was them, but it wasn't. And so I mean it might have been partially them, but what the data model does is it uncovers patterns in your problem solving approach and creates compelling evidence of your impact. So this is huge. Um, so I'm going to give you an overview and I'm going to give you an example of myself, and then we're going to jump into we'll do like 3 minutes of me giving you the example, and then we're going to jump into a live workshop where you'll have 2 minutes for each section. Okay. And I think this is important because like having too much homework is hard to do, and it's like something else in your to-do list. I'm sure you have other stuff to do. So the career overview is to identify roles, achievements, and skills that energize you. So I think we already started to put some of the things in the chat. Document what others consistently praise you for. So like this is really good. Um, and we'll do it in a second. But list your most notable career achievements and the things that you're most proud of. So we talked a little bit about talking about what you're most proud of. So, and then a role by role deep dive. Why were you hired and promoted? It's really important to think about over someone else. The last job I got, 700 people applied. Why did they hire me? And this is so important for you to really document. And if you're like, well, I don't know, they didn't tell me. Think about it. Why did they hire you? Why were you the right fit for the role? What challenges did you face? And how did you overcome them? What accomplishments are you most proud of? What did you do that no one else could do? And then what were the measurable outcomes in what you did? And so then you're going to look at the value pattern recognition, identify reoccurring themes in your problem solving approach. So, like, what are you consistently seeing over and over and over again? And recognize your unique superpower that appears across roles. This is like what makes you, and superpower, like, I don't love that word, but it's really hard to find a different word. So it's like uniquely exceptional. Like, why you is what you really need to be able to understand. And this is like your essence that you want to make sure is coming through on your LinkedIn. And then you're going to connect your skills to business outcomes that matter. That is tomorrow on value positioning. Okay. So the top question for the day, I think a lot of you already started to looking at it, to thinking about it. Looking back at your career, what are you most proud of? Now, drop in the chat if you know what it is. Say yes or no. I want to see where people are at. If you know what you're most proud of, drop in the chat yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'm hearing that you do. Cool, because you need that in order to move forward. All right. So we are going to start this, and I don't know how to do Zoom timers. I'll work on it. In the meantime, I don't have my watch. I'll set a timer on my phone. Or actually, Claire could help me time if that's okay, Claire. So the first one is for what you were most proud of. What was the context and the challenge? Um, what problem needed solving? What was at stake for the organization? And why was this challenge significant? So think about these questions. We'll set a timer for 2 minutes. Drop in the chat if you have questions. You can message me directly. Um, you don't need to do your answers in the chat. Sorry, great question, Donna. Do them in your workbook. So you can see the big W. That means the workbook is here. And do them in your workbook. Yep. All right. All right. Was that enough time, everyone? Message me if you feel like it wasn't. Cool. Enough time. Cool. Let's move on. Too much, was it too much time? Okay. I'm not saying it wasn't too much time. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So for the next piece is a task. What were you specifically responsible for? What was your official role or assignment? What was expected of you in this proud moment? And what constraints or limitations existed? And for those of you thinking about this, would it be helpful if I ran you through a scenario while you're working on this? My scenario for an example? Drop in the chat if that would be helpful. Okay, I'll do it. So while you're working on that and thinking about it, I'm just going to go back to one slide if I can. Gosh, how to go back? Okay, what was the context and challenge? So I was actually in charge of doing a digital transformation plan essentially at VMware. This is what I'm most proud of. At VMware, we had a whole team of 80 people within the sourcing department. I worked on strategy and process for our center of excellence, and about 80 people were miserable. They were all doing like incredibly administrative jobs, working too much time, didn't have work-life balance. They were like under overemployed. Like they had so much to offer, but they couldn't do it because they were drowning in admin. The organization was not producing value. Like sourcing, the big thing is like you need to be able to like save the company money. That's the only reason why they have them pretty much. So not as much value as they could. And then the stake for the organization was that they needed to produce value and to be able to like for companies that are just a line item for departments that are a line item on the budget, they needed to actually be able to like say that they are producing value for the company. And this challenge was significant because there was an attrition problem and it takes a ton of work to get new people on the team. And they knew they had a technology problem. So, like, this was like the trifecta of problems. I was specifically responsible for coming up with a digital transformation plan. The 2 minutes is up. I'll finish explaining this and then we'll move on. Um, and the official role or assignment was just go come up with a plan. And what was expected of me was to come up with a plan. What was not expected of me is to get super emotionally and personally involved and invested. I spent 6 months researching digital transformation, all things digital transformation, probably 50 different vendor tools, everything of how the entire process could be reorganized. And the biggest constraint that I was not aware of is that there was no budget. So I spent a ton of time working on this and like actually came up with something that was going to work. And then nobody used it. So I think this is a good example. And they ended up using it a little bit later to talk about in terms of like what you did. And a lot of times this happens within corporations where you put something out there and it wasn't taken or there wasn't budget or there wasn't buy-in or whatever, and how you can actually reflect it on your resume. All right, the next one is approach. We're gonna do probably 1 minute, 1 minute for the rest, just because um, we'll do 1.5 minutes. We have our speaker coming on at 9:35. Okay. So approach, Claire, if you can set the timer, please. How did you uniquely tackle this? So literally, I didn't know what digital transformation was, which was kind of crazy because I have a Six Sigma MBA. I really like it was kind of a new word. So I went and got like 6 books and I read and I took notes. And I came up with a strategy then based on the books for how to do it within the department. Um, I used so many skills. This particular skills and strengths question is actually really difficult for me to answer, even for you all. And so I think what's key about this is like use AI. I did not get to make your AI companion. The next masterclass next month will have one, hopefully. But like use AI to then put this situation in and ask for what your skills or strengths that you demonstrated, right? Like I demonstrated being able to like handle ambiguity and be able to take a task and figure it all out. I determined ROI for like, if we invest this, we will get this. And so, and was able to measure the whole thing, right? Like if you can get more stakeholders on board that have more of their money managed by sourcing, then we can get that sourcing savings percentage that can then save the company money. So a lot of it was this is where I got into design thinking, was understanding the user perspective of um of that. Um and learn design thinking. So this was probably a very different approach. Other people would have been like, I don't know how to do that. Give that to someone else or whatever. And you can see what I did. So we will move on. Details. What obstacles did you overcome? What unexpected challenges emerged? How did you Oh yeah, Donna, Design Thinking is Idea Flow. Love that book. And I did the actually Rob, I think I saw you got a certification from IDEO. But I think that's awesome. That's from the D School. Professors at the D School at Stanford. So what unexpected challenges emerged? How did you adapt or pivot? What resources did you leverage and what persistence or creativity was required? So, what obstacles did you overcome was that the systems were so broken, they were so disconnected, there were so much disparate data. The volume was huge. We had 10,000 suppliers and no supplier system. Um, and the unexpected challenges came from just like even just doing the user interviews within the team to understand where the process was broken. There were so many disgruntled employees, and even just talking about it was frustrating because they knew that things weren't going to change for them. How did you adapt or pivot? Um, I don't think I did this very well. I got really, really invested and really wanted to see it happen. Actually, I ended up leaving the department because it wasn't going to happen, and I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. But and I think some of this stuff is hard to talk about too. When your most proud moment is like one of the most like sensitive moments, like bring up things for you, and so um I wouldn't talk about that in an interview, but it is good for you to understand that. And I would use AI to challenge yourself on that. Like I feel like I just said I don't feel like I adapted or pivoted, but I did. I ended up leaving roles. I realized it was really important to me. Um, what resources did you leverage or create? So we talked a little bit about that and persistence or creativity that was required. Um, okay, let's move on. Results. Love results. Thursday is going to be all about results, just so you all know. So, all about results. What measurable impact did you achieve? And so, what did you actually do? So, this was really hard for me because I didn't actually do anything because they didn't implement it. They had to invest $500,000 to probably save 6 million, I think was my ROI. But the measurable impact was that, right? So I didn't say I recommended in my bullet. I'll have to go back to my LinkedIn, but like that is what that is what the output of this project would have been. What quantifiable outcomes can you point to? So that's for me like employee like attrition and satisfaction. Overall systems, like systems integrated, the number of systems that and the different processes affected by one thing. Key business metrics was like at the end of the day, like, you know, is this department delivering, this 80-person department? And then feedback or recognition. After I left the role, they started to trickle on and do a couple of little things, which was incredible. I actually got an on-the-spot bonus a year later from the department because they were starting to do this stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe I did something here. Um, and that story just tells you how it changed the organization. So, transferability. How does this translate to future roles? What skills or approaches demonstrated here apply elsewhere? What does this achievement reveal about your value? And how could similar results benefit a future employer? So, for me, I learned in digital transformation. And we're giving away this book later, but it's called I don't even remember the name anymore. It's a really good book. I'll tell you later. But essentially how to break down someone's work structure to understand the strategic and non-strategic aspects of their role. This is huge. This is what every company has to do with AI. So that's incredible. And then I think this achievement shows so much about my value. It's hard for me to answer that bullet point. So this is where I think workbooks and like AI companions are so nice because you can start to see that you can actually put in all the answers to these questions and ask them about what it reveals about your value. And then how similar results could benefit a future employer. I just said everybody would need to do it right now. Everyone's trying to figure out what processes, how to add AI, and how to be more profitable. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Please drop in the chat if you've thought about those things, if they were new to you, and if you think they could be helpful to your job search as you like are able to communicate those things on your LinkedIn and resume. Okay. Okay. Helpful. Common pitfalls. So the imposter syndrome trap. So this is like I hear this a lot. Anyone could have done this. I was just doing my job. I had a lot of help from my team. Um, and so know that like you are a big part of these things. Like a lot of this would not have happened without you. If you're on a team that produced results, that's okay. But make sure you're putting those results in your LinkedIn and your resume. Everyone works as a part of a team. The vagueness problem is like helping increase revenue, made the process more efficient. Really try and think about like the number of processes it went from here to here, steps from here to here. There's so many things you can measure, and we're going to dive deeper in that on Thursday. And then the vagueness problem. So I talk with my clients a lot about this, but um, using industry specific terminology without explanation. So really trying to bring it up a level. We'll talk about that later in the week, but kind of the so what is really important. And then assuming the reader understands your company's context. So this is like the number one thing that we're going to start to talk about, but it's the fact that a lot of our measurement, and this is where I feel like there's a gap in traditional coaching and resume writing is um, taking your bullet point and making it better and adding in some keywords. Like you can do that, but you needed to tell your story and you needed to tell your story in a way that someone doesn't have to understand the intricacies of like that digital transformation example, but they can see what I did and how I can add value. And so like that context of like if you worked on a very specific project for a very specific thing, bringing up the terms so that it's more clear to understand so that your audience can understand it because they don't know what project you did. They probably don't care about what project you did. They just want to know what you can do for them. And so you have to make it super, super, super clear. Um, okay. Um, we have a guest speaker. She's on. Megan, we are going to do a Q&A. I gave everyone a little intro about you, but I am so happy to hear from you. I will stop sharing so we can just see you, and I will tee you up for these questions. Does that work?
That sounds great.
Cool. Okay. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing. And I'm also going to stop recording because this is going to go onto YouTube. So let me just stop recording. Okay. Oh, I almost ended it. That would have been